Project Sentinel, Episode 2, Glitch in the Void. 1. The Slow Pan. The scan was glacial, 1 degree per hour, a mechanical eye pivoting on an axis 7 billion miles away, sweeping the edge of the known dark like a lighthouse beam turned inward. To anyone else, the monitor was static and distant suns. To her, it was a familiar landscape. Every faint pixel, a star she had watched age over the years of her shifts. She knew the grain of this particular slice of sky. She knew the static the way a cartographer knows the texture of old paper. So when the velvet black tore open, she felt it before she understood it. It wasn't a light. A light would have been welcome. A comet, a reflection, even a glitch she can blame on the fusion core. This was a shadow. A jagged geometric absence that didn't twinkle, didn't drift with the expected randomness of a rock. It was a hole in the stars, a thumbprint of absolute blackness, thumbing slowly, exposing different angles of mangled metal and impossible angles. Her breath caught, fogging the bottom edge of her visor. Her hands, steady from years of routine, hovered over the haptic interface. She didn't think. She acted. Command Delta 9 or 0. Cease rotation. Lock coordinates. Enhance sector 4G. She hit send. 7 hours until the command reached the eye. 7 hours until confirmation returned. She had just dropped a stone into a well 7 billion miles deep, and she wouldn't hear a splash until her shift was long over. 2. Purple alert. The protocol for a potential anonymous contact was written by people who feared the sky. It wasn't about curiosity. It was about erasure. She triggered the silent alarm. No klaxon blared, just status bars across every monitor shifting from a cool blue to a bruising purple. Within seconds, the lead-lined doors hissed shut. The electronic noise policy she rolled her eyes at earlier became a tomb. Vance appeared at her shoulder. He didn't look at her. He looked at the grainy silhouette on the screen. Verify, he whispered. His voice was sandpaper. Command set at 0200, she said, voice thin in the sudden vacuum of the room. We're in the dark for 14 hours, sir, she said. Vance nodded slowly. Station-wide blackout. No outgoing pings. No internal wireless. We don't want to be a lighthouse if that thing is looking for a shore. The room emptied quickly. 22 observers filed out in practiced silence, heading for the berths or the sealed wreck areas. She stayed at her station, the purple light painting her face like a bruise. The shadow tumbled on the screen, slow and sickening, exposing more of its impossible geometry. Sharp angles. No natural rock at angles like that. 3. The lead casket. The transition from the sensor suite to the living quarters was jarring. Ghost mode meant lights dimmed to a submarine red, power conserved, thermal footprint minimized. She walked the narrow corridors, boots clanging softly on the metal grates. The station felt different now. Before, the walls were a shield. Now they felt like a cage. Every creak of the hull was no longer maintenance. It was a question. Her berth was a 4x8 foot slot in the station's spine. Normally she would read or listen to preloaded music. Tonight the silence was heavy. She lay on the bunk, staring at the underside of the upper berth. The shadow was burned into her retinas. It wasn't a rock. Nature doesn't make right angles that sharp. What that thing was, she wondered. This was supposed to be just a boring job watching a screen. She suddenly felt very small, very similar to children building sandcastles while the tide was coming in. She rolled on her side, clutching the thin regulation blanket. The fusion core in her asteroid Sentinel was the size of a soda can, a tiny flickering heart in the dark. She prayed it stayed hidden. She prayed the shadow was just a ghost in the stone. But in the pit of her stomach, she knew silence was the last 20 years had just ended. 4. The impossible rest. The timer on the bulkhead glowed red. 02:14:55, 02:14:54. 7 hours ago, she'd seen it. It was already there. In 3 hours, her command would reach the eye. In 10 hours, the enhanced feed would start its journey back. The math was a torture device. She tried to close her eyes, but the shadow was still there. A slow, dead tumble against the faint glow of the galactic core. A faint glint caught in her memory. Something pale, almost bone white, threading through the wreckage. Not gold, not alive, just broken metal and silence. She whispered into the red light gloom of her cabin. "You're just a wreck," she said. The words didn't bring peace. If something that massive had advanced, was drifting dead in the Kuiper Belt, it meant something had killed it, or something had gone catastrophically wrong in the deep dark. She rolled onto her back again, watching the timer count down. 02:14:42, 0:14:41. The station creaked. The fusion core in the eye pulsed on. 7 hours away, a soda can, a heart in the dark. She waited. The 14-hour echo. 0200. The timer reached 0. The confirmation signal arrived. 7 hours late, right on schedule. The enhanced feed began to load, grainy at first, then sharpening. The shadow resolved into a shape. A mangled metallic hull, bone-white plating cracked open like an eggshell. Golden filaments trailing like broken veins. No power signature, no heat above the background. Just a carcass tumbling slowly, 7 billion miles away. She stared at the image, heart rate climbing despite herself. It wasn't one of ours, and whatever had killed it was still out there. She reached out and touched her screen, her finger hovering over the faint, impossible silhouette. "Stay quiet," she whispered to the empty room. "Just stay a rock." The timer reset, 14 hours until the next sweep. The silence returned. But it was different now. It had weight. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'll be uploading twice a week as I build this universe and this wonderful story. Thank you.